Hey everyone, and welcome to SH English Story. For decades, Japan has been seen by the outside world as a picture of serene stability, a nation of polite efficiency, advanced technology, and a political landscape so calm it could almost be described as quiet. But what if I told you that beneath this calm surface, a powerful wave of discontent is rising, fundamentally reshaping Japanese society and its political future? Get ready, because the Japan you thought you knew might be on the cusp of an unprecedented transformation, driven by an awakened populace facing economic anxieties and new social realities. We're about to explore how a nation long perceived as politically apathetic is now experiencing a profound shift in public consciousness, with implications that could ripple across the globe. For a long time, the prevailing image of Japanese citizens' political involvement was one of relative disinterest. Voter turnout, especially among younger demographics, often lagged behind other developed nations, and the Liberal Democratic Party, LDP, maintained a near-constant hold on power, creating a sense of predictability, if not dynamism, in the political arena. People focused on work, daily life, and the pursuit of personal well-being, often leaving politics to the politicians. However, this long-standing quietude is visibly changing. Recent years have seen a noticeable surge in political interest among the Japanese populace, a direct response to pressing domestic issues that can no longer be ignored. The primary catalysts for this awakening are undeniable economic hardships. Persistent inflation, a phenomenon relatively unfamiliar to Japan for decades, is now a daily reality. Imagine essential goods, like rice, a staple in every Japanese household, suddenly doubling in price. Such sharp increases in the cost of living, combined with a prolonged period of economic stagnation, are hitting ordinary households hard. This erosion of purchasing power and the uncertainty about future prosperity are fueling widespread public dissatisfaction. Voters who once might have accepted the status quo are now feeling the pinch directly in their wallets, leading them to demand accountability and effective solutions from their leaders. This economic anxiety is forcing a reevaluation of long-held political assumptions and prompting citizens to engage more actively in the political process. Beyond the economy, evolving social dynamics, particularly issues surrounding foreign residents, are also contributing to this shift in political consciousness. As Japan grapples with demographic challenges and the need for foreign labor, questions about immigration policy, cultural integration, and societal impact are becoming more prominent in political discourse. These concerns, whether rooted in economic competition or cultural preservation, are mobilizing segments of the population who previously might have been politically disengaged. This newfound engagement is not necessarily homogeneous. It spans a spectrum of views, from those advocating for greater openness to those expressing more cautious or even nationalistic sentiments. The combination of economic pressures and societal changes is thus creating a more complex and vocal electorate, eager to see their concerns addressed by the political system, and in doing so, challenging the very foundations of traditional Japanese governance. Indeed, the core of Japan's recent political turbulence lies squarely in economic discontent, which has directly fueled this voter dissatisfaction. For years, a significant portion of the Japanese public endured stagnant wages and a low inflation environment. But the recent surge in inflation, reaching a concerning 3%, a figure unprecedented in modern Japanese memory, has been a rude awakening. The most vivid example of this pain is the soaring price of staple goods, with rice prices effectively doubling. This directly impacts the daily lives of millions, from working families to retirees, eroding their savings and purchasing power. Globally, high inflation has frequently been a trigger for political upheaval and regime change, and Japan is proving to be no exception. The public's patience with economic hardship has worn thin, transforming latent frustration into active political dissatisfaction. This public anger is compounded by the perception of the government's response to these economic woes. While citizens desperately hoped for tax cuts or direct financial relief, the government often resorted to what many considered populist measures. Think of schemes like distributing shopping vouchers or increasing fuel subsidies, actions that were seen by a frustrated public as temporary bandages rather than fundamental solutions. Many felt these policies failed to address the root causes of their economic pain and were a misdirection of public funds. This disconnect between public demand for serious fiscal adjustments and the government's chosen remedies has intensified voter disillusionment, making them more inclined to seek out new political alternatives. Further fueling this widespread discontent was the humiliating outcome of trade negotiations with the United States. Despite 7 rounds of intense discussions, the administration at the time failed to secure better terms, with the U.S. imposing a 25% tariff on Japanese automobiles, identical to those on South Korea. This was a severe blow to Japan's pride and a direct threat to its vital automotive industry, which accounts for 3.3% of the nation's GDP. The U.S. also pressed for greater access to Japan's agricultural market. Given the significant role of agricultural cartels and the automotive industry's substantial contribution to the GDP, conceding to these demands was politically challenging for Japan. The perceived surrender in these negotiations, especially after prolonged efforts, bred deep public anger and disappointment, painting the administration as weak and ineffective in protecting national interests. This series of economic setbacks and perceived political missteps converged to create a potent brew of public frustration, directly contributing to a seismic shift in voter sentiment and behavior, which is now profoundly altering Japan's political landscape. This seismic shift has not only driven public engagement, but has also shaken the very bedrock of Japanese politics, the Liberal Democratic Party, LDP. For decades, the LDP has enjoyed an almost unbroken grip on power since its formation in 1955, creating a sense of enduring stability both domestically and internationally. However, recent events suggest this era of unchallenged rule is drawing to a close. The LDP has faced an unprecedented series of setbacks, culminating in what is being interpreted as a historic defeat in the upper house election. Polling data even suggested the LDP might fall below its 1989 record low of 36 seats, with the ruling coalition likely failing to secure a majority. This outcome is more than just a loss. It's a profound political judgment on the LDP's established governance, hinting at a broader structural shift rather than just a temporary dip in popularity. The continuous string of electoral losses, including previous lower house and Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly elections, has created immense pressure on the party's leadership and raised questions about its ability to maintain its traditional stronghold. The potential for a divided diet, where the opposition controls the upper house, could lead to severe legislative gridlock, effectively paralyzing government operations and potentially even forcing a change in government if a unified opposition emerges. Amidst the LDP's struggles, a new political force has made an undeniable impact: the Sanseito Party. This relatively nascent party has achieved a remarkable surge in popularity, acting as a whirlwind in the recent upper house election. Their core message, centered around Japanese first and a strong focus on issues like regulating foreign residents, has resonated with a growing segment of the electorate, particularly among younger voters. Sanseido has skillfully leveraged social media platforms and YouTube to rapidly build a dedicated following, achieving unexpected electoral success in key urban areas like Tokyo and Osaka, even securing seats in the Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly. While their emergence signals a desire for fresh political perspectives, it's crucial to note that Sanseido has been characterized by some as having far-right tendencies. Their rise has been accompanied by controversy, including public criticism for remarks perceived as inflammatory, such as comments about being treated like Koreans or discussing producing children. This dramatic shift, from the seemingly unshakable LDP to the burgeoning influence of new, sometimes radical parties like Sanseido, indicates that Japan's long, stable political structure is entering a period of unprecedented volatility, mirroring populist trends seen in some Western democracies. This political upheaval is now directly impacting Japan's ability to form stable governing coalitions and effectively address its mounting economic challenges. Indeed, the political tremors in Japan extend beyond the ruling party's woes. They highlight the inherent complexities of the opposition and the severe economic challenges lurking beneath. Despite the LDP's recent setbacks, the path to a stable alternative government remains fraught with difficulty due to the fragmentation of Japan's opposition parties. Parties like the Constitutional Democratic Party of Japan, CDP, the Democratic Party for the People, DPFP, and the Japan Innovation Party represent a wide spectrum of ideologies, from progressive to centrist to staunchly conservative. This ideological diversity makes forming a cohesive, stable coalition incredibly challenging. While the LDP might attempt to lure some opposition factions into a new coalition to maintain power, such a move would be seen by many opposition parties as political suicide, risking their identity and popular support by aligning with the long-dominant LDP. Indeed, the CDP, as the largest opposition party, has explicitly stated that a coalition with the LDP is out of the question, underscoring the deep ideological divides that make a unified opposition government or a grand coalition extremely unlikely in the short term. This political instability casts a long shadow over Japan's already precarious economic situation. The nation faces a growing risk of stagflation, a dangerous combination of high inflation, economic stagnation, and rising unemployment. Several factors contribute to this gloomy forecast. Japan's national debt is alarmingly high, currently standing at over 210% of its GDP, and potentially soaring to 400% when other liabilities are included. This is the highest among developed nations. The prospect of rising interest rates, driven by global economic pressures, poses a severe threat. If interest rates increase significantly, the government's burden for servicing this massive debt would explode. Currently, 25% of Japan's national budget is already allocated just to paying interest on its debt, diverting crucial funds from public services and growth-oriented investments. An increase in rates could create a vicious cycle, trapping the economy in a debt spiral. Furthermore, if opposition parties were to gain power and implement policies like a consumption tax cut, while popular, it could drastically reduce government revenue, further destabilizing Japan's already fragile public finances. Adding to these domestic vulnerabilities is the ongoing impact of U.S. tariff policies. The 25% tariff on Japanese automobiles, a key export, is expected to severely impact the industry, potentially reducing Japan's real GDP by 0.4%. Other vital sectors with high export reliance on the U.S., such as aircraft parts, 80% of exports to the U.S., construction equipment, 50%, and machine tools, 23%, also face significant headwinds. Japanese companies are left with tough choices: absorb the tariff costs or adjust prices by leveraging the weakening yen, potentially impacting profitability. This external pressure, combined with internal economic frailties, creates a challenging environment for Japan, making its economic future highly uncertain and sensitive to global shifts. These internal political and economic tremors are not isolated. They are poised to generate ripples far beyond Japan's shores. Indeed, the brewing storm in Japan's domestic politics and economy is not just an internal affair. It has the potential to send significant global reverberations. Japan, as the world's third-largest economy and a major financial player, is deeply interconnected with the international system. One of the most critical implications stems from the yen carry trade. For years, investors borrowed the low-interest Japanese yen to invest in higher-yielding assets abroad. If Japanese interest rates were to rise sharply, potentially in response to inflation or global monetary tightening, these vast amounts of yen carry trade funds could rapidly flow back into Japan. This mass repatriation of capital would suck liquidity out of global markets, potentially creating a black hole effect that could destabilize financial systems worldwide, including those in the United States and South Korea. This scenario could trigger a global liquidity crunch, impacting asset prices and investment flows. Specifically for South Korea, Japan's economic instability poses direct risks. South Korea has historically relied on Japan for the stable procurement of key high-tech components and materials, especially in critical industries. A deep economic crisis in Japan could disrupt these supply chains, making it difficult for Korean industries to secure essential inputs, impacting their production and competitiveness. This highlights the intricate interdependencies within the East Asian economic bloc. Beyond direct economic ties, the weakening yen, which has been partly seen as a preemptive move to offset tariff burdens, could also impact the export competitiveness of other nations, including Korea, if their currencies appreciate against the yen. Furthermore, these domestic shifts are highly likely to influence Japan's foreign policy and diplomacy. A more inward-looking or even a more nationalistic political climate, exemplified by the rise of parties like Sanseito with their Japanese-first stance, could lead to changes in Japan's approach to international relations. This might manifest as stricter immigration policies, more assertive positions on trade disputes, or a re-evaluation of its long-standing alliances. While Japan remains a staunch ally of the United States and a key partner in regional security, the internal political dynamics could subtly, or even overtly, shift its foreign policy priorities. This could introduce new complexities into regional stability and global power dynamics, forcing neighboring countries and international partners to adapt to a potentially more unpredictable Japan. In conclusion, our exploration has revealed that Japan is undergoing a profound and multifaceted transformation. The image of a politically apathetic nation, content with the status quo, is rapidly being replaced by one where Japanese citizens are increasingly engaged and vocal. This awakening is primarily fueled by the undeniable pressures of economic hardship, particularly the sting of inflation and persistent economic stagnation, which have directly impacted their daily lives and shattered past assumptions of stability. The public's desire for real economic solutions, rather than temporary relief measures, has become a powerful driving force in current political discourse. This shift has not only shaken the foundations of the long-dominant LDP, leading to significant electoral setbacks and internal power struggles, but has also paved the way for the emergence of new political forces. Parties like Sanseito, with their distinct platforms and effective use of modern communication channels, are tapping into public anxieties, including those surrounding societal changes related to foreign populations. While these emerging parties bring fresh perspectives, their rise also introduces new complexities and ideological debates into a political landscape that was once seen as relatively homogeneous. This dynamic resembles political shifts seen in other developed democracies, grappling with similar economic and social pressures, highlighting a universal pattern of citizen response to challenging times. Japan now faces a period of unprecedented political and economic volatility. The high national debt, coupled with the risk of stagflation and the impact of external trade policies, presents a formidable economic outlook. Furthermore, the fragmentation of the opposition parties means that forming a strong, alternative government remains a significant challenge, potentially leading to prolonged periods of political instability. This is truly a, quote, turbulent era for Japanese domestic politics, moving decisively away from the quietude of past decades. Ultimately, these changes will have far-reaching implications, not just for Japan itself, but for its role on the global stage. As the Japanese public's consciousness evolves, so too will the nation's priorities and approaches to both domestic governance and international diplomacy. Understanding these deep-seated shifts in public sentiment, economic realities, and the evolving political structure is crucial for anyone seeking to comprehend the future trajectory of Japan. This is more than just a political story. It's a narrative of a nation's people rediscovering their voice and navigating a path towards an uncertain, yet undoubtedly transformative, future. The world watches to see how Japan will adapt to this new era of dynamism and challenge.